These are the solutions to 2024's M8 Paper 1. This is a non-calculator paper. So you have 1 hour, 15 minutes for this, and then you would go out of the exam hall or get your calculator and then do the calculated paper. So the total mark for this paper is 50. So we will get started. Formulas you get then, you get volume of prism, trapezium, the volume of sphere, surface area of a sphere, curved surface area of a cone, triangle, ABC, sine rule, cosine rule, area of a triangle, and a quadratic equation as well. Okay, question one says, John spends X hours each week on homework. Joanne spends 3 hours more than John each week on homework. In total, they spend more time on homework each week than Sam, who spends 14 hours per week on homework. Write down an inequality and solve it for X. So John spends X. Joanne spends 3 hours more, so she spends X plus 3. And in total, they spend more than Sam, who spends 14 hours. So that just tallies up to be 2x plus 3 is greater than 14, which then you could bring the 3 across, so you'll have 14 minus 3. So 2x is greater than 11, which means x is greater than 11 divided by 2, which means x is greater than 5.5. And that is as good as you can go. Question 2. Each interior angle of a polygon is 140 degrees. How many sides does it have? The easiest way, I think, to do this one, if you imagine you've got an interior angle, we'll do it here. The interior angle's here. The exterior angle then, the exterior angle makes, together with the interior angle, makes 180 degrees. So first of all, your exterior angle is equal to 180 minus 140, so it is equal to 40 degrees. And then it's a regular polygon. For a regular polygon, your number of sides is equal to 360 divided by e. So for us, 360 divided by 40, and 360 divided by 40 is 9. And I would just write down sides as well. Okay, and you would obviously write your answer in here. Okay, the next one. 3 marks for a question. I guess this is a describing the single transformation, which takes A to B. Now you should all be able to see that going from A to B, it's a rotation. It's rotating this direction, which is anti-clockwise. So rotation, anti-clockwise, ACW, 90 degrees. And I think that gives you 2 out of your 3 marks. Your last mark then, and I wouldn't spend too long on this. If you get it straight away, fantastic. If you don't, then I would move on because it's only 1 mark and you've got 2 out of your 3 marks here. Try the origin first, and I'm using the L-shaped method here to do this because I can't show you tracing paper. If I rotated that 90 degrees anti-clockwise, it goes to here. That doesn't quite work. You would play around with different points. So I'll try this one. It's going to be 3 down and 2 across. So if I rotate that, that's 3 across and 2 up. That doesn't quite work. So I will try this 1, 2, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 down and 2 across. And if I rotate that, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 across and 2 up. So you can see my center is, what was that point? 1, 2. Next question, complete the table values for this. So you can see, they've been very nice to us here. You can see a wee bit of symmetry here. So you've got minus 4, minus 2, and 2, and then 8. So there's spaces here, and they're going to be for minus 2 and 2. Let's just check one of those and see. So we'll do this one here. So we will do this one is going to be, my x value is minus 2, squared then minus 2, and then minus 4. So what does that become? Minus 2 squared becomes 4, minus 2. Minus 2 then is going to be plus 2, and then minus 4, and that gives me plus 2 as required. So I was able to use the symmetry thing. If you don't like that, then just work out the other values. It's only giving you 2 more to do. So this one here, if I change that, lose it there to be minus 1s. So to get this one, it would be, that would be minus 1 squared minus 1, and then minus 4. Minus 1 squared would be just plus 1. Minus 1 would be plus 1, and then minus 4, and that gives you minus 2. So if you don't see the symmetry method, or perhaps you can't use it in a different type of question, that's what you'd have to do. you've got your points, you plot your points in. So this is not going to work out beautifully in this thing, unfortunately. But -3, I'm at 8. At -2, I'm at 2. At -1, I'm at -1, I'm at -2. At 0, I'm at -4. At 1, I'm also at -4. At 2, I'm at -2. At 3, I'm at 2. And at 4, I'm at 8. Okay, now this is not going to work out nicely for me here when I do this, when I draw this thing. Very hard to draw on this. Not too bad. I've certainly done worse. Right, so that's what we've got. That was my equation, my curve. I'm just going to write that down. First of all, that was y equals x squared minus x minus 4. Okay, things to avoid then. You want to avoid a series of straight lines between your dots. So some people would do a curve like this. You want to obviously avoid, you want to also avoid then a flat bottom. So you see where you've got those two things at the bottom. So people would have a nice curve down here, a nice curve from this side, and then have a flat bottom. So it's got to sort of extend around at the bottom. And that is it. So do your best. They are a wee bit lenient when they're marking these. So it's not an easy thing to do. Okay, the next thing says, what was our equation? X squared minus x minus 4. It says our equation of our curve was x squared minus x minus 4. It says use a graph to solve the equation. So this is our curve. So what you have to do is draw y equals 0 and then see where y equals 0 crosses your curve. Now y equals 0 is, we don't need to draw it because y equals 0 is the x-axis. So our answer is going to be the x values of where they cross. So again, I have done this out maybe slightly better. When I did out, I got minus 1.5 actually I got. We'll go with this graph here. So again, there's a wee bit of variation. I think it'll be minus 1.6 and 2.6 maybe. When I see it from this graph, I'll go with this one. So x is equal to minus 1.6 and x is equal to 2.6. Okay, it says draw the line on the 2x minus 3 on your graph. So y is equal to 2x minus 3. That has an intercept of minus 3. So I'll plot that here. There's my minus 3. And a gradient of 2. So my gradient is 2. So that means as I go across 1, I go up 2. So it takes me to this point. If I do that again, that'll take me to this point, and then this point, and so on. And back the way, it will take me to this point. If I then goes up with a ruler, which I thought I had. If I then goes up with a ruler, going through all those points. Again, this is very rough to do this on this thing. I apologise for that. But this is as best as I can do to show you. Okay, so there's my line. Y equals 2x minus 3. So what you've got, so that's that done. It says use your graph to find the points of intersection. So it's a points. So my points of intersection, I'll do them in red again. This point and this point. So whatever you get. So when I did it out properly, what I got, and I haven't actually, you can calculate these algebraically as well, but I haven't done that. And just to be honest, so I will just say what I got. They were very rough. So minus 0.4 and minus 3.6, something roughly like that. And then this other one, roughly 3.2. Looks a wee bit different than that, I have to say. 3.2 and 3.4. Let me just check that. 3.2, 3.4, that's way off. That's 3.4 maybe, and 3.7 nearly, it looks like there. You can see how much variation there is, but you know what, I'm going to go with this one. This is what I had done when I had drawn it out half decently, and that is it. Okay, next question, really good question, says what line would you draw on the graph to solve? So it's not actually asking you to draw another line, but it's asking you how you would solve this. So let's write down what they give us here. And then underneath that on the left hand side, write down the equation of your curve. That's what our curve was. It was x squared minus x minus 4. So how do I get from here to here? I don't have to do anything with my x squareds. If I'm at x and I want to get back to minus x, I'll need to take away 2x. And if I'm at minus 9 and I want to get to minus 4, I need to add 5. So what I need to do on the right hand side is do exactly the same. So I'm minusing 2x and I'm adding 5. So that means I need to draw what's on the right hand side. So I need to draw this. So you want to draw y is equal to minus 2x plus 5. Okay, question 5 says a jeweler sells watch batteries at a fixed price and watch straps at a fixed price. On Monday, he sold 1 battery. So I'm going to say that x be the number of batteries and y be the number of straps. So 1 battery and 3 straps, and he made £40. On Tuesday, he sold 2 batteries, so that's 2x plus y, and he made £25. So it's a simultaneous equations question. What I'm going to do is try and limit the x's, so I'm going to multiply the first equation by 2 to give me 2x plus 6y is equal to 80. And then what I'm going to do is just subtract. So I'll do 2 times my equation 1 minus my equation 2. So 2x minus 2x disappears, 6y minus y goes down to 5y, 80 minus 25 gives me 55, so that gives me y is equal to 55 divided by 5, y equals 11. Sub that into equation 1, and you're going to have x plus 3 times 11 is equal to 40, which means x plus 33 is equal to 40, which means x is equal to 40 minus 33, which means x is equal to 7. X is equal to 7. So 1 battery costs £7 and 1 strap costs £11. Question 6. A lunch date consists of a sandwich, a drink and a piece of fruit. On Friday there are 5 choices of sandwich, so 5 of sandwich, 6 of a drink and 4 of fruit. On Saturday there's different, it's 6 choices, 8 drink and 3 choices of fruit. How many more combinations are available on Saturday than Friday? So let's work out Friday. Friday you could have 5 times 6 times 4, which works out as 120. On Saturday you could have 6 times 8 times 3. That's all the different combinations you can have. So I got 144. How you do this is non-calculator, remember. 5 times 6 is 30. Times 4 then gives you 120. And to do this one, 6 times 8 is 48. And then you've got to do 48 times 3. So you can do that in your head if you can't do that in your head. So 6 times 8 is 40, 48 times 3 then. 3 times 40 is 120. 3 times 8 is 24. 120 plus 24 gives you that. If you can't do that, just do 6 times 8 is 48. And then multiply by 3 to give you 144. And the question then says, how many more choices have you got? So we do Saturdays minus Fridays, gives you 24. Question 7, which is heavier, A or B? The trick here is the units are different. So let's make this one into kilograms by dividing by 1,000. So you divide by 1,000, that's the same as dividing by 10 to the power 3. So it becomes 1.05 times 10 to the power of 4 kilograms. And then it's very easy to compare them because you've got which one's heavier. They're both the same power of 10, being multiplied by the same power of 10. B is a slightly heavier one then, so it's just B. Okay, this was similarity question. A and B are similar shapes. The area of A is 24. So the area of A is 24. The area of B is 96. So you get from 24 to 96 by multiplying by your scale factor for area, which is k squared. That means 24k squared is equal to 96, which means k squared works out to be 96 divided by 24. This is a non-calculator exam. Divide top and bottom by 2, you'll get 48 over 12, and then 48 divided by 12 is 4. You can then work out your scale factor for length by square rooting the 4, and that gives you 2. It says then the height of B is 15. And what is the height of A? So the height of A is going to be the height of B, which is 15, divided by your 2, and that's going to be 7.5 centimeters. Question 9 says a bag contains 2 yellow, 3 blue and 5 red, so that's a total of 10. Jill takes a ball at random out of the bag. She replaces it. She does this 3 times in total. Work out probably the 3 balls are the same colour. Okay, the only way Jill can get the same colour is if she gets yellow, 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 or if she gets blue, 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 or if she gets red, red, and red. Instead of, you don't need to do a 3 diamond, it will take ages to do. The probability of getting a yellow is 2 over 10. She's also going to do that. It's going to be 2 out of 10 next time because she replaces it. 2 out of 10. Blue would be 3 out of 10, 3 out of 10, 3 out of 10, and the reds then would be 5 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 5 out of 10. Now think ahead of what we're doing. We're going to be adding fractions. So instead of cancelling down here, which a lot of people do, they'll start cancelling this down and all this jazz. You don't need to. It doesn't help you. Leave them as a number over 1,000. So it's 8 over 1,000, 27 over 1,000, and 125 over 1,000. So how we did that, sorry. Multiply along the top to get 8, multiply along the bottom to get 1,000. Same here, multiply along the top to get 27, multiply along the bottom to get 1,000, multiply along the top to get 125, along the bottom to get 1,000. Add those, you will have, that works out to be 160 over 1,000, cancels down. Just take your time and just do divide by 2, divide by 2 again, divide by 2 again, and I stopped there. Oh dear me, I stopped there. That was silly. I could have divided by 5. Top and bottom divides by 5 to give me 4 over 25, and that's as good as we can go. Okay, so if I had left it here, I would have lost a mark. They want you to cancel all the way down. Okay, right, lovely wee question. The next one, if you sort of see the wee trick, you've got 2 here, and you've 2 here, you've x's, y's, and you've a y here. So leave your 2 in the first bit to the power as a power of 2 instead of multiplying it out. So that's going to be 2 to the power of 4, and then that you're raising the whole thing to the power 4, so everything gets raised to the power 4. So x squared raised to the power 4 becomes x to the power of 8. Y to the minus 1 to the power 4 becomes y to the minus 4. And you're dividing by 2 to the power of 3. So my powers of 2 reduced by 1, and my powers of y reduced by 3. And that is it. Oops, sorry, that's not it. You then have to go and write then you do your 2 to the power of 3. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 8x to the 8, y to the power of 7. Okay, question 11 says, a box contains 3 green pens and 5 red pens. Alfie takes 2 pens from the box without replacement. So probably a tree diagram would be the easiest way of doing this one. So you've got green or red, and then the second selection is green or red, and then green or red again. Now there's a total of 3 green pens out of a total of 5, and there's a total of 5 red out of 8. So if he pulls out a green, then he's left with 2 greens out of 7, and he's still left with 5 red out of 7. If he pulls out of red, he's left down to only 4 red out of 7, and he's still got the 3 greens out of 7. What is the probability that the pens are not the same colour? So that means he could get a green or a red, or he could get a red or a green. So I work out what this branch is, and I work out what this branch is. So my answer was a probability green and a red, or probability a red and a green, which is going to be 3 over 8 times 5 over 7, or 5 over 8 times 3 over 7. Again, I think we mentioned this earlier on, there's no benefit of cancelling down. If there is anything you can cancel down, I don't think there is anyway, but if there was, you wouldn't, because the denominators are the same. 15 over 56 plus another 15 over 56, which is 30 over 56, and then cancel down. Top and bottom divide by 2 to give you 15 over 28, and that's it. Question 12, tricky question, says the area of ABC, so this area here is 8 root 3. It says show that the length of BD, so the whole length here is 25 root 3 over 3. Tricky question, this is non-calculator, remember. First thing I would do is find this height x. why am I finding this height x? I'm finding this height x because it tells me the area of ABC. The area is a half times base times height, so I don't know that height, so that's my thinking to go along there. So to find x in this triangle here, if I highlight it, this triangle here, my hypotenuse is 6. 6 squared then equals x squared plus brackets 3 root 3 squared. 6 squared is 36 is equal to x squared plus, and then 3 squared would be 9. Root 3 squared would be 3. So 36 is equal to x squared plus 27. 36 minus 27 equals x squared, which means 9 is equal to x squared, which means x is equal to 3. So we've got a nice answer for height. Now for the area. Area, remember, is a half times base times height. So our area was 8 root 3 is equal to a half times the base of that triangle, which we don't know. I'm going to call that, well, I should just call it b for base. Half times b times my height, which we know is 3. So then that means I can do 8 root 3 divided by the half, and also divided by the 3 would be equal to the b. Dividing by a half is the same as multiplying by 2. Oh, I haven't done that. Multiplying by 2, which would give me 16 root 3. And then I still have to divide it by 3. So that's going to be 16 root 3 over 3 is equal to your b. Question says find the length of b to d. So b to d will be equal to b to c, which was 16 root 3 over 3 plus 3 root 3. And then what we could do here, so a very tricky question indeed. This thing over here, take a common denominator of 3. So top line gets multiplied by 3 as well. And then you can see that works out to be 25 root 3 over 3. And that is it, done. Difficult question. And our last question on our first paper, our non-calculator paper, is this. It's you've got 3 graphs. Complete each sentence. It says y is inversely proportional to x. Okay, right. That's how we look at the general inversely proportional graph. That's what it looks like. Okay. But there's 3 inversely proportional ones. So the 3 inversely proportional ones are the ones that are sloping downwards. We just need to figure out which one's which. So the direct proportion one has to be the other one. So it has to be, the direct proportion one has to be graph 1. So graph 1's the direct proportion. So that's graph 1. Okay, right. Now we've got to think then. It says y is inversely proportional to x. And I'm going to cheat and use a table of values. So to do this, I'm going to say, I'm going to write down I'm going to do y is equal to 1 over x. And I'll do my table of values. And I'm just doing x and my y. And I'll do 1 and 2. That's all I need to do. So x is equal to 1. Y is equal to 1 over 1, which is 1. X is equal to 2. It's equal to a half. Okay, if I had y is equal to inversely proportional to x squared, I'd have x, and I'd have my y, and 1 and 2. So x is equal to 1, my y is equal to 1 over 1, x equals 2, it's 1 over 2 squared, so it's going to be a quarter. Okay, so this one would be going down quicker than the one I've just done. And then y is proportional to the square root of x. So I've got x and I've got my y. So 1 over the square root of 1 is just 1. And then 1 over the square root of 2 is 1 divided by root 2. And that would be a bigger thing than both a half and a quarter. So that means this one here, that's inversely proportional to the square root of x, would be this one. This one would be the most extreme one, so it's going to be this one going down here, and this one then is going to be the one in the middle. So let's just piece those together. So y is inversely proportional to x. That was our green one, that was graph 3. Y is inversely proportional to the square of x. That was my graph 4. And y is inversely proportional to the square root of x. That was my graph 2. So that's how I would sort of reason my way through that question. Okay, we're on to paper 2 now. So paper 2 is the calculator paper. I think it was a bit harder than the first paper. The first paper wasn't too bad, a few wee tricks in it, but the second paper I definitely think the difficulty ramped up a wee bit. So we'll just get started. I don't think it says any what degree of accuracy to give things to. Okay, first question says, Sarah rolled a fair dice and tossed a fair coin. What is the probability she gets a number less than 5 and a head? So a number less than 5 would be 4, 4 over 6, and the head then is just a half. So you're just doing 4 over 6 times a half. I just did that as 4 over 12 and then cancelled. So my answer is 1/3, but you need to cancel to get the full 2 marks. Next one, indices question says, find the value of A. The left-hand side, you could write that as A plus 4 as my power. And then my right-hand side is just 12 my power. So the powers are the same, bases are the same. That means the powers are the same. So you just have A is equal to 12 minus 4. A is equal to 8. Okay, no calculator needed until now. So question 3 is a trial and improvement question. It says the equation x cubed minus 12x minus 2 equals 0 has a solution between 2 and 5. So I'm going to try 3. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put that in. So it's just showing you what I'm putting in for the first one. I'm doing 3 cubed minus 12 times 3 minus 2. And that worked out to be minus 11. And here I would just write down comment. And I'm just writing TS, which stands for too small, because my target was 0. So then that was too small, so you try 4, and you must do this. And when you put 4 into it, so that means you're just replacing this 3. The number in the bracket gets replaced by 4. You put that in, and I got 14, which is then too big. Now, that means I know my answer is somewhere between this. So try 3.5. So put 3.5 in, and I got minus 1.125, which was then too small. Remember, my target was 0. So I tried 3.6, and I got 1.456, which was then too big. So either one of these is going to be my answer, because I had to go to 1 dp. So you must test or check halfway in between. So 3.55. When I put that in, I got 0.31889, which was slightly too big, but still too big. So then if 3.55 was too big, then 3.6 would be way too big. So my answer is going to be 3.5 to 1 decimal place. Okay, question 4. The table shows the probability of getting each number on a biased dice. The dice is rolled twice and the numbers are added together. What is the probability of getting a total of 5? Okay, how do you get a total of 5? You could have a 1 and a 4, or you could get a 4 first and then a 1, or you could get a 2 and a 3, or you could get a 3 and a 2. So that is, a 1 and a 4 is 0.18 times 0.1, and then 4 first is 0.4, and then a 1 is 0.18. Then a 2 is 0.2 times a 3, which is 0.3, or you could get a 3 first and then a 2. Fire that into your calculator. I got 0.156 as my answer. Question 5. Lovely. I love a direct or indirect proportional question. It says A varies directly as a square of x. So that means A is equal to k x squared. And then it tells you this. It says when x is equal to 5, A is equal to 20. So let's just write that down. A equals 20, x equals 5, which means 20 is equal to k times 5 squared. 20 is equal to, that's going to be 25k. That means k equals 20 divided by 25, which would be 0.8. Rewrite your equation, and this is the most important step. A is equal to 0.8 x squared. Put that in a box because it's so important. And then the question says, calculate the value of x when A is equal to 45. So let's just put A equal to 45, which means 45 is equal to 0.8 x squared. 45 then divided by 0.8 would be equal to x squared. I've done that in my calculator. I've got 56.25 is equal to x squared. Xn is equal to the square root of 56.25. And when I did that, I got x is equal to 7.5. And that is my answer. Okay, right, apologies, this one is going to be an awkward one to show on this screen here. It says a triangle T is reflected in a line y equals x, and then enlarged by the scale factor of 1/2 using a centre of enlargement 7 minus 2. Okay, let's do the reflection first. So it goes through these 3 points, y equals x. Let's just link that up with a nice straight line as best as I can. Okay, so there's my my thing, and I'm reflecting in this line y equals x. So diagonal squares is the way we want to do this. It's 2.5 diagonal squares to get to here. So 2.5 diagonal squares on the other side would take me to here. That's my first point. This next point, diagonal, 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 and a half. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. So on the other side, half, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's right. Yes. And then the other one, last one, 1, 2, 3.5. 1. So that's a half, and then 1, 2, and 3. That takes me to here. Let's link these up with a straight line, which is a tricky bit for me. That is, I am doing that using a ruler, and you can see how bad it is even with the ruler. Okay, right. So that's what we've done. We've reflected. It then says, then enlarge scale factor half using a centre 7, 2. So that's label 7, 2 first of all. 7, 2's here. And then you measure your distance out. And that distance down there is, what is that? That's 6 down. Half of 6 is 3. 3 down would take me to here. So this is where, I'll do this in red. This is where that first point goes to. Then measure this distance. This is the easy one. That's 4 diagonal squares. Half 4 diagonal squares takes you to 2 diagonal squares. And this last one isn't just as easy. This last one, I will do it using my dash, my lines, and measure it properly. Unfortunately, this one, or will I? Let's see. If I can avoid measuring as such, all the better. Okay, right. Now let's have a look at this. What I've done here to get here, if you imagine I've gone down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I've gone across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you half that, instead of going down 8, you're going to go down 4, and then instead of going across 6, you're going to go across 3. So down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and across 3 is going to take me to here. So that's where I'm going to. So that's a real mess. Apologies for that one. Probably one you're better off just doing yourself. Print out the paper and do it yourself to see. And you were to label it F, but that's what you're doing. So tricky enough wee question there for 4 marks. Okay. Question 7. Now I made a bit of a meal about this one really, I have to say, but I'm going to do it the same way again. I did a 2-way table just to keep me right what we're doing here. Question says, we'll read it through first and then we'll start again. It says there are 200 students in year 8, 160 students in year 9. There are 120 girls in year 8, 100 girls in year 9. The probability a girl plays a musical instrument is 0.3. The probability that a boy plays a musical instrument is 0.25. A student is taken at random from the students who play a musical instrument. What is probability as a boy? So a student is taken at random from the students who play a musical instrument. What is a probability as a boy? So you've got to find the number who play a musical instrument in total, and then find a number that play boys, and then do that as a fraction. So I did this. This was just to work out the number of girls and the number of boys. Now this was, you're going to look at this and think, why on earth is he doing this? But I just could not see it. So if you can't see it, you don't be too proud, and just get started. And if you need to do a wee bit of extra work, as I did in this one, to get the answer, just do it. Okay, so here we had 200 students in year 8. So year 8 was a total of 200 students. I did a 2-way table, and 160 students in year 9. And it says there are 120 girls in year 8, so that's 120, which means the boys must be 80 for the year 8. There are 100 girls in year 9, so that's 100 girls in year 9. That means there must be 60 boys in year 9. So the total number of girls then is going to be 220, and the total number of boys is going to be 140. So I just need this because it tells me the probability that a girl plays a musical instrument is 0.3. So we're going to say boys' music first. We'll do that. She's done girls' music, doesn't matter. Boys' music. So you had 0.25 then times 140, and that worked out to be 35 boys played music. Girls' music, it was 0.3 times 220, and that worked out to be 66. So that's a total for music was 101. So the probability that it's a boy doing music is 35 over 101. Now you could do it a much quicker way. If you can see a much quicker way of doing it, fantastic, good for you. Right, next one, another probability one. It says athletes at a fitness course complete 2 fitness tests. The probability of passing the first test is 0.6. They've got that labelled on and drawn on. If an athlete passes the first test, the probability to pass the second is 0.75. So there we could pass or fail, and then pass and fail again. And then it says if the athlete fails the first test, the probability of them passing the second test is 0.45. So if an athlete fails the first test, the probability of them passing the second test is 0.45. Okay, so we've got all the information given in the question, but we know every set of branches adds to be 1. So if that's 0.6, that's 0.4. This one up here is 0.75, that's 0.25, and this one is 0.55. So we've completed the tree diagram for just 1 mark. Question says work out the probability of an athlete passing only 1 test. So I could pass the first and fail, or fail and then pass. So I'm looking for those 2 branches. That's what I'm looking for here. So it's just going to be 0.6 times, you multiply along the branches, 0.25, or, when you say or, you add 0.4 times 0.45, which works out to be 0.33. Okay. Next one is a graph one. Draw the graph of this thing. A is equal to 1.5 to the power of x. Table of values. You're to do that for 0 to 1. So 0 to 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1.5 to the power of 0 is just 1. 1.5 to the power of 1 is 1.5. That's then going to be 2.25, 3.375, 5.0625. So, and then you want to plot those. Oh, this hasn't come out very well. And there, not very well at all. Well, they're best. Okay, so there we have it. Very difficult to do here. So with this, right, so there was our curve. Next part, what we've got to do, unfortunately, use this then. Use the graph to find when the initial value of A has trebled. So the initial value was 1, so it's trebled when it goes to 3, so you've got to go across at 3. Now, folks, you must put your lines on here, your lines of construction, or your lines to work it out. This is your working out here, so you're going across and then down. I'm going to use what I've done when I did this on the actual page. I got 2.7, pretty close to 2.7 here again, but I've got 2.7. And then it says, by drawing a suitable line on the graph, estimate the instantaneous rate of the increase in the value of a when x equals 3. What it's asking you to do is find the gradient when x equals 3. That's what they're asking us. So I think it's new on the course a few years ago. So we're doing this as best as we can, and we're doing a tangent at 3. Now, there's going to be a lot of room for error here, so you have to show you're working out. Now, I could draw a line here as a tangent. I could also draw a line here. There's an infinite number of ways I can do this. So there's going to be a bit of leeway on this, so you've got to really use your values. Now, because there's a wee bit of leeway, you can sort of cheat a little bit and pick nice values. So I picked a nice value up here at when I moved the thing around. 4.5, I think it was 4.5, 5.5 I managed to get. That's a nice, quite a nice point. And then what was my other one? 2.2, I think it was 2.2. That's now. Let's see if this links up. That's what I did when I did this offline. Ooh, does that link up? Not too bad. Yep. So I sort of did it that way. So it was, my tangent was going through those 2 points because they were nice. And it looked like a good sort of line. So that's why the way my tangent was. It was going through those 2 points. It doesn't look like it's going anywhere near those 2 points at the minute. Let me try that again. We link those up. Oh, here. Well, when I did this offline, it was looking like it was going through that. And then I'll just continue. I'm doing this freehand just to show you we're not using this one. Do it properly. But when I did that, my gradient then, so this point, this was a nice point, and your line's nearly bound to go through a nice point. You don't want to pick points which are too close together. That was 4.5, 5.5, and this point here that it went through was 2.2. So there's 2 nice points, and I want to find the gradient of that. So let me write those down again. What was that? What were my points? 4.5, 5.5, and the other one was 2.2. So my gradient, y difference over x difference, so 5.5 minus 2 over 4.5 minus 2, which works out as 3.5 over 2.5. Calculator exam, what am I doing? That was worked out as 1.4 is what it worked out to be. Okay, right, very few people like this one. It says PQ is a chord of the circle, x squared plus y squared equals 160. It tells you that 4.8 is the midpoint. So this wee point here is a 0.48. Okay. What is the gradient of the radius of the circle which passes through this thing? So you want to find the gradient of this wee line here. Now this circle here is what we're talking about. It has a center 0, 0. So this point here must be 0, 0. So the gradient is equal to the y difference. So 8 minus 0 over 4 minus 0. 8 over 4, the gradient is just 2. Okay. Next bit says the radius intersects the chord at right angles. So that's at right angles. You see the wee right angle symbol there. That means the gradient of the radius is perpendicular to the gradient of PQ. But it says show that the equation of the chord PQ is this. So the gradient of the chord, gradient of our radius was 2. So the gradient of the chord is a negative reciprocal of that. So it's minus a half. I'm going to just put it in the y equals mx plus c. And we also know our chord goes through the origin, but also goes through, oh, sorry, it's the chord. No, absolutely not. The chord goes through the 0.48. So we have to put the 0.48. I have to put the 0.48 in. So 8 is equal to minus a half times my x, which is 4, and plus c. So that's 8 is equal to minus 2 plus c. And 8 plus 2 is equal to c. C is equal to 10. So y is equal to minus a half x plus 10. And then that's going to be 2y is equal to minus x plus 20. Bring the x across the other side. You'll have 2y plus x equals 20. And that is it. That's what we're looking for 3 marks. Happy days. Okay, the next bit, really through some very good people. It said find the coordinates of P and Q. Now, it doesn't look like it, but this is a one linear and one quadratic simultaneous equation. So you know the equation of this chord, and you know the equation of the circle, so you can just sub them in. I think it threw people because it just looked like this, but really, if you extended this line on, and you said find the points that this straight line intersects the circle, or it said solve the equations, whatever they were. It said solve x squared plus y squared is equal to 160, and what was the other one? 2y plus x equals 20. I think everyone would have known what they were going to do, but I think it threw people a wee bit. So here, just be careful on this one, folks. It can ask questions all different ways, so you have to understand what's going on. Okay, we've got equation 1, that's our circle, and equation 2, that's our chord. I'm going to make x a subject here in the second equation. So x is going to be equal to 20 minus 2y. And then what I'm going to do with that is sub that into equation 1. So instead of writing x, I'm going to write 20 minus 2y. That's going to get squared, plus y squared is equal to 160. And we'll just multiply it out along that. 20 minus 2y plus y squared equals 160. 20 times 20 is 400. 20 times minus 2y is minus 40. You've also another minus 40 there, so minus 80y that should be. Minus 80y. And then 2y, minus 2y times minus 2y is plus 4y squared. Plus your y squared, which was outside, is equal to 160. Tidy up. Bring everything to one side. You'll have this. Divide through by 5, you'll have y squared minus 16y plus 48 equals 0. And I'm going to let you do the sum and product yourself here for this. But the sum, or you can just solve it using your quadratic equation. I got y minus 4, y minus 12 equals 0, which means y is equal to 4 or y is equal to 12. And then we'll go back up here. You've got to find the corresponding y values. So we word to say when x equals 4, when y equals 4, I should say. When y equals 4, my x value is going to be equal to 20 minus 2 times 4. So my x value is 20 minus 8. My x value is 12. So that gives me the point 12, 4. Or you could say when y equals 12, x is equal to 20 minus 2 times 12. That's going to be 20 minus 24. So that gives me x is equal to minus 4. So that gives me the point minus 4, 12. And that's what you want to put in your answer line. Those are coordinates. And that's what we got. Okay. Question 11. It says, calculate the angle between the space diagonal PQ and the base of the cuboid. I'm going to add a wee bit of extra labeling on this. I'm going to call this a B and a C. And what we want to do, if we draw that line P to C, why did I call it B and C? Call it A and B, would be better to use the first letters of the alphabet, A and B. What we've got is a wee right angle triangle, and I need to find this angle theta in here. Find the angle between the space diagonal PQ and the base. So we've got to find the length of that P to B first. So we've got a right angle triangle there. So we've got P to A is a right angle triangle. P to A is 3. And then that A to B is 4. I know that diagram's completely off. And we'll find the P to B. So P to B by Pythagoras will be equal to 3 squared plus 4 squared and the square root of that. You probably already know anyway, it's going to be a 3, 4, 5 triangle. But I would just show a wee bit of working out for that. So that's what you've got your PB. And then if we look at this other triangle, just do this up here. If I go do my triangle from P to B up to Q, there's a right angle. We now know P to B is 5. That's my angle I want to find. What else do we know? Oh, we know the height. The height of this bit is 3, so this vertical height is also going to be 3 as well, so that's 3 here. So you could just say tan of theta is equal to 3 over 5. Theta then equals tan, so minus 1 of 3 over 5. If I've done that correctly on my calculator, I got 30.9, what did I get? 30.9637. So I would give my answer as 31.0 degrees to 3 sig figs or 1 dp, whatever way you want to set. Okay, we've got there. We're at the end. This is our last question. Kind of tricky enough wee question to finish. 6 marks, but there is a lot of marks that are available to you even if you can't get the answer. So I might have to go on another page here. It's quite a lot. They haven't given you maybe enough space for this one. I certainly took all the space to do this one. It says work out the area of ABCD, and this is not a parallelogram, as you can see. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this diagonal here. Straight away I could, so everybody should be able to get the marks here. For this bit, you should be able to get the area of this triangle. This triangle here, not so easy. So to get the second triangle, you're going to have to find this angle, and then you're going to have to find this angle in here. But find that side x, and then find the angle, another angle in here. But we'll worry about that in a wee second. To get x, we're going to use the cos rule in the first triangle. So I would say x squared is equal to 6 squared. So in this left-hand triangle, 6 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 6 times 9 times cos of 80, which means x squared is equal to 98.245,99681, and I got my x then as 9.91191. Going to 5 dp's because I'm going to use this later on in the question. So I now know what this length is. I can now use the sine rule in the second triangle because I've got a side and its opposite angle. I've got a side. I could use the sine rule to find this. I'll label this. I'll call this thing theta. So I can use the sine rule now because I've got those pairings, side in an opposite angle and another side in an opposite angle, which I'm trying to find. So I could then, in the other triangle, I'm using the sine rule, and I'm saying then my sine theta over its opposite side, which is 10, is equal to sine 75 over its opposite side, and I'm using 9.91191. That means multiply across by the 10, I'll zoom in on this, sorry, sine theta will be equal to 10 times sine of 75 over 9.91191. And instead of firing that into your calculator, say just do then theta is equal to sine to the minus 1, and your calculator is good enough to do this using a wee bit of brackets and so on. Oops, sorry. 9.91191. And when I did that, I got my theta was equal to 77.03572. Okay, now let's go back to our triangle. Get rid of these yellow markings here that we maybe can see what's going on. Okay, I know this side here, x. We'd worked that out in our first bit. So I've got a side, I have another side. I want to find this included angle in here as well, so I'm going to call it alpha. And then if I did that, I have a side included angle. I can use area of a triangle as a half AB sine C. So I need to find my alpha. Remember, I've just worked out theta, so I can use the fact that 3 angles in a triangle add to 180. So to get alpha is going to be 180 minus my angle up there, which was 75, and the theta, so 75 and the theta, which was 77.03572. So my alpha worked out to be, if I've done that correctly, 27.96428. Okay, we're good to go. Now we can find triangle 1. So area triangle 1, excuse my terrible handwriting, area of triangle 1 then equals So it's a half times the AB sine C. So it's a half times, and in triangle 1, I've got this side, and this angle. So this is what everyone really should be able to get, this part of it. So a half times 6 times 8 times sine of 80. And I worked that out again, 5 dp's, 26.58981. My area of my triangle 2 then is a half times my side, which is 10, times my other side, which was my x there. You can just see it on the left-hand side of the screen, 9.91191. And that's being multiplied by sine of this thing at the bottom, 27.96428. So when I banged that all into the calculator, I got 23.23952. So my area then works out to be those two things added together. So this and this added together. So my area of the whole shape is 26.58981 plus 23.23952. So my area is 49.8. I got the 3 sig figs. Hopefully that is correct. And that is it done. So I think it was a fairly tough second paper. The first paper was nice enough, I thought, mostly. But it's a fairly tough second paper.